So we have understood the very important concept of files clearly, because with the help of single line, we are able to create wonders in Python. Just make it simple, you follow the logic, you can easily go ahead. Now, let's understand the other very important concept, because everything is important only, but let me make it priority wise. So basically, when we have started understanding the logic of control statements, conditions, you are trying to build a structure of a program, and you have made your shift from structured way to creating a module. You understood different ways of modules. In the same way, we'll also work on a very important concept of command line arguments. That is the reason always when you see, if I want to run the same file, suppose if I want to run the same file, I'll just give a simple input like this, 25 plus 26. What do? You just click on run here. This is a very simple way. You just write the code in script mode and you just click on function F5. But I want to do the same thing in your command prompt also. The simple shortcut is open your Explorer, just click on desktop, type CMD here. Automatically, you'll be going to command prompt. The other way is what you do. So many people will automatically, they don't have the desktop connection, desktop path, because OneDrive backup or so many things. I'll be making it very simple. Open your Explorer, just open your Windows Explorer, click on desktop to your left side. Automatically you have here desktop command, right? You just click on CMD. CMD stands for command prompt. There you go. You can run the file by giving Python. What is the file name? Just type, you see the file name over here. The file name is UND files. You need not type the complete path, just file name, just give UN or any other words if the matching words are present in the same location. Give tab, automatically find the file and click on enter. You will be seeing the output directly. And some people directly do this. You see, you also get the result. But the best way is always write what is the programming you are trying to give, Python, and what is the file, tab space, you click the file, you get the files. You just see the result, because the first argument is always here Python file name, because Python is default, because we are trying to work on command line arguments. For that reason, I just made it simple, because Python command line arguments are generally, these are input parameters which are passed to the script. Python command line arguments are basically input parameters which we are passing to the script when executing them. These are input parameters. That means with the help of command lines only, that is the reason every time when I get a chance, I am going to command prompt and getting the things. Because you should understand how do you work with command prompt only. We are using Windows operating system. The main reason it's a GUI based, easy to understand. But mark my words, if you are trying to understand the logic, you can go for the same way in Unix based systems or Mac based system. It is fine, because basically Python, you follow the same instructions to download in Ubuntu or Mac based system. No need to worry. Go for installation part of Mac and you get the same file. You need not worry, because even in Mac, you have Python 2 version pre-default installed. You can just do with that. So just make sure Python command line arguments are input parameters passed to the script when executing them. That is where we just play it very simple. So let me just give it a triple quote, because I want to write some bit description, and I'll be using the very important widely used built-in command line argument, which is sys.argv. That is very widely used one. Even when I'm discussing about sys module also, I told the same part, right? So when executing them, they play a very vital role. And even Python 3 version, even Python 3 which we are using, Python 3.x, any version, they provide hands-on built-in arguments. Python 3.x version supports a number of built-in command line arguments. Out of them, we'll be using a very widely one, which is sys.argv, where automatically we'll see the list structure of the file which we are executing. We'll just understand that, because that is where you just understand, that's where the commands keep on increasing. That is how even any software is being built, because people don't understand the importance of C programming also, because C programming plays a very vital role in kernel operating systems, right? With that only operating systems will build. Because now I'll show a simple example when we are trying to run this. It supports a number of ways of, it supports a number of different ways of handling command line arguments, of building or basically handling, whatever you say, different ways of handling command line arguments. It's very, very important. Out of them, the very important one is sys.argv. So to use that, what we need to do? We need to import sys module, import sys. So first let me save this. I'll save this as cmd line, command line. Okay. Now you just need to first make sure what happens if I give print of sys.argv. Let's first check that, because we have already seen this. When I print this, what happens over there? You are getting the entire Python path. Yes, that's where, because we are running this file from the script mode. Okay, when you give print of sys.argv, you are getting the complete Python path, and this is the list structure. Because you are running from Python ideally, you can clearly see the entire path. What is the path? My path is based on C users name desktop. What happens if I do the same thing in command prompt? Let's do that. So open Python terminal here. And if you open Python terminal, automatically you are in desktop location, right? In desktop in Python. So when I give import sys, and if I give here sys.argv, what happens? Clearly you get empty because you're not running any file. How do you do that? You run the file directly here. So just come out of the terminal, press Ctrl Z and give Python. What is the file name? It's undlin underline. Undlin is the file name I gave, right? Let me just cross check. Where did I give? It's in desktop cmdlin. Sorry, it's not und. So just give cm, right? Now you don't see the complete path because you are seeing only the file name, because you are already given the complete path. And why do you see the remaining path? You don't see the path again, right? It will give you only the file name. So the first argument is always the file name only. But when you're running from here, you will get the complete list structure. Okay. So to count the arguments also, you can just give. How? Because it's a list, how do you count the length of items? Remember the thing? You just go for length of sys.argv. Just give length of sys.argv, because that is where I wanted to introduce you what happens when you try to give. So what happens when you give print of arguments? You are having only one element in it, right? So print of arguments, when you save this and when you click on run, you get the complete file path and you get the how many items are present in the list. You get only one. Okay, this is very simple, which you have already studied. But how does this is related to Python? What you're trying to tell me? If you get that question, I'll go to command prompt again. Just give one thing. When you're typing Python when you're typing the word Python, you're automatically getting the Python terminal. How? Because while installing Python, we have clicked the checkbox that Python is being added to the environment variables. The path is added to the environment variables. That is very simple. Okay. Now, you can write some commands here. The shortcut is, if you want to check the version of it, --version. I am creating my own command here. If I ask the version, the Python documentation will provide me what is the version of Python, because the default thing is Python only. If I don't give Python, what happens? You see, --version. See, it clearly tells you it is not recognized because your command prompt, that is your Windows operating system, doesn't know what does this mean. So that is the reason our first argument is our Python only. The next thing is our customized. That is where command line arguments play a very key role, whether you go for Windows or Linux or Ubuntu, and even when you try to build a machine learning model or train a model or run anything, this plays a very key role because people give them now more number of commands. Our next step is we create our own commands. That's what you're going to see. So Python --version is giving you the version, and even if you want to ask the help, you get the help bar, right? In that way, Python documentation has been framed, and when it was introduced, you see all these shortcuts. If you want to have help, you see, it will tell you what to do. That is where interactive mode plays a very vital role. That is with Python. So that is how generally command line arguments play a very vital role. Now what do we do is, why can't we build our own arguments? We can do it. You believe me or not, everything will go in this world. When it is programming, we go for if, else, elif blocks only, because you are trying to frame a condition. It's the same point. So what do I do is, I'll make this as comment. I'll just give arguments equal to length of sys.argv. I don't want every time this. I'll keep that thing also comment, because I'll just keep the point at the end only. I don't want this thing to be coming here every time. So first I'll frame my condition as if sys.argv, because the first argument is the complete file name. So I go with the index as 1, because index of 0 is always, you see the file name, no? If you remember, if you run from here, you see the file name as the first argument. So I take the second argument. If my first argument which user is entering is hello, I'm just wishing the user. If it is hello, what it should print? It should take something. It is just wishing you. You have wished me. Or you can just give some more interesting thing. Thanks for wishing. What do you want from me? In that way you can just tease it. Thanks for wishing me. What help do you need? Okay. Suppose if I save it and if I execute this from here, sure you are going to get an error, because you get index error. We don't have this index, no? Why? We are not able to pass the command here. We are only executing the file. That is the reason always prefer command line execution. That is the main reason I am using ideally. So don't execute this from here, because if you just print the arguments now, it would be different. And if you just print sys.argv, the length is now different, because the length will become 2 when you just pass one more argument, right? How do you do that? Go to your command prompt, and what is your file name? Python. My file name is cmd line, and when you press enter, automatically you get errors the same way, because you're not passing argument. So just pass the argument, Python cmd line. What is the argument we gave? Hello. Press enter. There you go. Whatever you gave, you got the same result. What is the first argument? It's your Python file name, the default argument. And the next one is whatever you gave. Both of them are in strings and the length is 2. That is how the same Python has been built. If you ask for Python version, what it is printing? It is printing the Python 3.7.8 depending on the dependencies. In the same way, we are giving our file name and what is the argument we have created. You got some interesting thing, right? Yes. So this is where it is very, very important, and you can just play with that. I'll write one more condition. I don't want to close it. So that is the reason I'm going for elif. So elif sys.argv of 1. If I go for 1, I want to change only first argument. Index is 1. If I want to give the version, if I want to play with this, I just give my own print. You can train so many things over here. My version is just 2.0. That's the updated version. In that way, I'm playing with it. So save it. Never run from the script mode here, because you should enter these commands. So go to your command prompt, and that is the reason I told you the Python path should be added over there. So what is the file name? cmd line. And if you give hello, you get whatever you gave. But I wanted to give not hello, but I wanted to give --, version. It's simple. When you gave version, it is printing you my version is just 2.0. What are the first one is your file name, and the other argument is your argument which you gave. See, that is how the command line arguments play a very vital role. In that way, you can keep on increasing. That's where elif blocks will play a very vital role. Even if you wanted to perform some addition operation, you can do it, because if you give the add command and if you wanted to perform some addition, but it plays a very important thing, because the first argument is always your Python file name, and the second argument, that means the first index is add. You want to add both the numbers. You want to take the input from a user. So what you need to give? Sys.argv of 2 plus sys.argv argv of 3. This is what you are trying to give. Okay, let me try. We don't know whether we get or not, because for sure we don't get the output. I am confident about that. I'll tell you the reason why. So save it and go to command prompt and give Python. What is our file name? cmd line, and I wanted to add, pass 2 arguments. I want to give 25 and 26. You are expecting the answer as 51, right? But no. What happened? Both of them are combined. 25 and 26 are concatenated because they are storing in the format of string only. So you need to go for type conversion, because it is storing in the format of string. You cannot convert, you cannot get the result. It is doing only string concatenation. So just close this. Make it very simple in that way, because everything is storing in the format of string only. You cannot get the result. It will go for concatenation. So just execute the same thing. Your Python and your file name, give add command, give 2 numbers 14, 15. There you go. 14 plus 15 is 29, even though they are storing in string format. That is the beauty. You can pass here. That is how the models are being trained in deep learning and machine learning. User will give so many commands depending on dependencies, help command, run command. We do give the so many things. If you are understanding this point, it is very much easier. So I gave some wishing part, version, add, and even I can print my customized print also. That's what I can give. Or where, if, and even if I want to ask help also. If some person asks me help, I'll just throw one more command, which is print of what I want to give. Please tell me what do you need. In that way I'm giving. What do you need? You can write your own print. You can just build anything with that. Suppose even if you're trying to build any model, machine learning model or any deep learning, you just give the command line and write your model here. You can just follow the same steps. Okay, now I'll give Python, and what is my file name? cmd line, and my instead of add command I want to give help. You see, it is responding you. That's where in documentation we go on giving so many things. Finally, I don't want to close it, because don't ever give else directly. I wanted to give my own customized print, because print is where Python documentation has name. I want to name my print as boom, because I want to give that funny command, boom blast. In that way I want to give. So I just give print again. So whatever you have entered, that should be printed, sys.argv of 2, because generally that happens. This is your default argument, is your Python file name. This is your first argument, that is index 0 is cmd line.py, index 1 is help. In the same way, if I give the same file name and I give boom, what is the next thing I give? That should be printed. There you go. You got the print. See, you have given your own customized print. Your print is boom. That is the reason programmers, the developers of, the programming founders, programming language founders, Dennis Ritchie, and why they are related. This Guido and Rusum, why they have named print? Because people relate from C programming. They give printf, they write print here. So if you want to build any new things, you just need to be good at command line arguments. You can pass multiple arguments and just go with this. The same way, whatever you give here, suppose if you just directly give this command line and you try to give add 14, 125, it's done. And you pass with this, even if you ask for version, it will directly give you what you are trying to ask. That is how we have customizedly built it, and that's where command line arguments play a very vital role when you're trying to make so many conditions. So just make sure you should be aware of what is your, always remember the first argument is your Python file name, that's a default argument. Then you start building. You can give any number of arguments here. Just make sure how we are writing those arguments and how we are trying to give the logic. Then you can just give sys.argv to see the list structure, and you can just get the length of the list. That is how these command line arguments play a very vital role.